The world is holding its breath. In the heart of Europe, a nation once scarred by war is preparing for the unthinkable. Poland, a frontline state of NATO, now faces its greatest test as Russia pushes aggression to the very edge of the alliance. What happens here could decide the fate of the continent and perhaps the world. The sirens have not sounded yet, but the tension is unmistakable. Every headline, every military exercise, every drone crossing a border feels like a warning. And as the storm gathers, Poland is not standing idle. It is bracing itself for the moment history may demand it to act. Step 1. The gathering storm. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the shockwaves spread across Europe. But in Poland, it was more than a shock. It was a glimpse of the future. Few countries reacted as swiftly or as decisively as Poland. Billions of dollars were immediately funneled into defense, with Warsaw announcing plans to double the size of its military and build one of the most powerful armed forces in Europe. Advanced American Abrams tanks, Korean K-2 Black Panthers, HIMARS rocket systems, and squadrons of F-35 jets were purchased at unprecedented speed. This buildup is not symbolic, it is strategic. Poland sits on NATO's eastern flank, a frontline state that would absorb the first strike in any conflict with Russia. The Polish leadership makes no secret of this reality. They say it plainly: if NATO falters, Poland will pay the highest price. That is why the nation has begun training not only its soldiers, but its entire society for resilience. Civil defense drills are returning, and local governments are preparing contingency plans for everything from cyber attacks to power outages. The streets may look calm, but Poland is quietly transforming itself into a fortress. Step 2. Shadows of the past. To understand Poland's determination, one must look back at its history. Few nations in Europe carry as many scars. In the late 18th century, Poland was wiped off the map, partitioned by Russia, Prussia, and Austria. For 123 years, it existed only in memory, kept alive by its people's determination. Then came the 20th century, when Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union carved it up again in 1939, plunging the nation into another nightmare of occupation, terror, and loss. Millions perished. These memories are not distant. They live on in family stories, in monuments, in the very soil of the country. Poland knows what it means to be abandoned by allies, to be overrun by stronger powers, to be left to fight alone. That memory shapes everything today. Unlike some of its Western partners who debate whether Russia truly poses a danger, Poland harbors no illusions. Its people have seen Russian expansionism up close, from Soviet tanks crushing uprisings to the iron grip of Moscow during the Cold War. And so, while others hesitate, Poland acts because it refuses to repeat the mistakes of the past. Step 3. Moscow's moves across the border. Russia is not resting. Instead, it sharpens its tactics. In Kaliningrad, a heavily militarized enclave sandwiched between Poland and Lithuania, Russian forces conduct constant drills with nuclear-capable missiles. Cyber attacks target Polish banks, airports, and government systems, probing for weaknesses. Propaganda spreads online, attempting to sow doubt and division within Polish society. Even drones occasionally stray into Polish airspace, testing the nation's response. Analysts warn that Russia's war with NATO has already begun. It is simply being fought in the shadows. Hybrid warfare, they call it, a blend of military pressure, cyber attacks, economic manipulation, and disinformation. The goal is simple: wear down resolve, divide the alliance, and make Poland feel isolated. For Polish leaders, these tactics are not just provocations. They are warnings of what could come next. Every drill, every incursion, every piece of propaganda is a reminder that Moscow is watching, waiting, and preparing for its moment. Step 4. The alliance at stake inside NATO. Poland has emerged as one of the most vocal members. It hosts American troops, advanced missile batteries, and serves as a logistics hub for the war effort in Ukraine. Without Poland, the supply of weapons and aid to Kyiv would grind to a halt. This has made Poland indispensable to the alliance, but also a primary target for Russia. The stakes could not be higher. NATO's credibility rests on Article 5, the promise that an attack on one member is an attack on all. But what happens if Russia tests that promise with Poland? If the alliance hesitates, its unity shatters. If it responds, the world could be plunged into a direct conflict between nuclear powers. This is why Poland's voice has grown louder in Brussels and Washington. It urges preparedness, not complacency. The Baltics stand firmly at its side, equally vulnerable and equally determined. Together, they push the alliance to prove that its commitments are more than words. Yet the question lingers. Will the alliance truly hold if Russia pushes too far? Or will hesitation open the door to catastrophe? Step 5. Standing ready. As these questions swirl, Poland continues to prepare, not only its army, but its people. Tens of thousands of citizens are joining territorial defense units. Reservists are being called up for training. Families quietly stock supplies, while schools introduce lessons on survival and resilience. The message is clear. Defense is not just the military's job, it is a national effort. The spirit of resistance runs deep in Poland. Time and again, its people have refused to surrender even in the darkest of times. That determination remains unbroken. For Poland, surrender is not an option. It understands a hard truth. Wars are often lost long before the first shot is fired, when nations underestimate their enemy or fail to prepare. This time, Poland refuses to make that mistake. The world now watches. Every NATO drill, every Russian maneuver, every diplomatic summit is scrutinized as the balance teeters between war and deterrence. And so the question hangs in the air: will Russia truly dare to strike NATO directly, risking a global war? Or will Poland's preparations, backed by its allies, be enough to hold the line? In the end, the fate of Europe may rest on this fragile balance. For Poland, the path forward is clear. They will prepare. They will resist. And if history demands it once again, they will fight, not just for themselves, but for the survival of a continent standing at the edge of war.